For the last 4 years, I've had the privilege of serving people in Charleswood, Tuxedo, Westwood, and really all of Winnipeg, and it's been a great honor. I decided to run for council because I felt it was important to get inside to see what was going on or not going on, and to truly understand the issues within our city hall. And I quickly determined that it was dysfunctional, that there was division, there was no team building, there was no talking amongst councillors on idea sharing or blue skying, as they say. And we've known now for over 20 years that the big mayor model in Winnipeg has failed us. Winnipeg is the only city in Canada that follows this big mayor model with an executive policy committee. And during our more than 60 community halls that we've had with residents, we have consistently heard that they are not supporters of the executive policy committee, that they do not like the fact that their councillor is not included in many of the decisions. They're not given the same information. They're not provided equal status within City Hall. And I'm here to tell you today that history will change when I am mayor of Winnipeg. We will eliminate EPC. It will take some time because that requires rewriting the charter and getting the help of the provincial government to change the charter. But we won't sit back and wait for that. On day one, I will have our community committees. And at City Hall, we have 5 different community committees, and they each represent a certain area of the city with 3 councillors sitting on each. EPC will be immediately dropped down to 5. And each one of those community committees will select somebody to sit on the executive policy committee. Until such time as we are able to have the EPC eliminated from the Winnipeg Charter. And I see that happening within 1 year. You have to be frank, it takes time to change the charter. But we will change the process of EPC. We will allow questions to be submitted from councillors at committee meetings that will be asked and will be addressed. Something that councillors haven't been able to do for years, decades in fact. A leader should not have to count on a power grab to make things happen. A real leader involves everyone. Every elected official deserves the same respect, the same access, and the same value for their vote, because they represent residents in Winnipeg from all across the city. So my second announcement, which we've made before, but I want to confirm it for everyone, is that not only will that be a historical change at City Council for Winnipeg, it hasn't been for over, I believe, 25 years since the EPC model started. But the other change will be putting every city councillor on the budget working group day one. So on day one, we'll make history as well by allowing every councillor to ask questions of the directors, be involved in the regular meetings that are happening now behind closed doors. These are secret meetings that keep out almost half of the elected officials in your city. That won't happen anymore with me as mayor. Every councillor will be involved. Every councillor will receive the same respect, the same information, and will have the same access as everyone else. Thank you.
Is Winnipeg really the only city in Canada? Other cities have strong mayor models. I believe Toronto is implementing a strong mayor model currently.
Toronto is looking at giving the province is looking at giving Toronto and Ottawa veto power to the mayor. But you recall a few years ago, the province changed and took away some councillors so that they didn't have an executive policy committee.
We hear from councillors, usually councillors that aren't on EPC, that they would like to reform the system. But we often see that once mayors get into power, they change their minds
Yeah.
about EPC.
Fair enough.
Why should we not expect you to do the same?
Because I'm not going to do that. I have been a vocal opponent of EPC for 4 years in council. I've moved many motions at council to put all members of council on the budget working group, voted down by members of the EPC, voted down by Councillor Gillingham, voted down by the mayor. I believe a true leader, a real leader, works to gain consensus. He doesn't pay to gain consensus. Every councillor will be paid the same, every councillor will have the same access, and we will have to work together. And I truly believe that it is a system that is broken, it's fractured the city, and it's created division within City Hall. And we've heard that from people like Councillor Lucas and others over the years. So as mayor, I will change it. I won't change my mind, and we will move forward, especially on day one, every councillor on the budget working group. All committees selecting one person, so the EPC would become 5 members. And each community committee will pick a person from their committee to sit on EPC until we get the charter changed.
How do you think your plan compares to Scott Gillingham's similar plan to cut 2 positions in the mayor's office, reappoint in the council, lobby the province to alter, I guess, or eliminate the EPC model?
Scott Gillingham said that he would look at working with council on the elimination, and he only committed to reducing 1 executive policy member. But at the same time, I believe Councillor Gillingham, who's sat on EPC up until the time he wanted to run for election, right? He was a member of the mayor's inner circle. He was Brian Bowman's right-hand man. He's not saying he will get rid of EPC. He's not saying every councillor will be on the budget working group. It's the same old, same old. It's pretty much 4 more years of Brian Bowman if it was Councillor Gillingham's plan. So what I'm saying is drastically different is historically, councillors haven't been on the budget working group. They will, they won't. Councillors have never had the opportunity to elect members to EPC. They will, day one. No other candidate will eliminate EPC. No other candidate. They want that power. They want to have a hold because they think that's how decisions are made. But I can tell you as a corporate executive for over 20 years, that's not how decisions are made. You need to work with everybody at the table. You need to include everybody. You need to make sure everyone's getting the same information. And I haven't seen any candidate, not one, say that they will eliminate EPC. I will.
Have you spoken to anybody at the province to see if they are buying into this plan?
So what happens with the province is that we would move a motion at council to change it, and we would send a letter to the province to respect the changes that council votes on. That would be the elimination of EPC and a different looking governance model. And then the province would be their decision to whether or not they want to do it. But I can't imagine any government saying, no, you can't change your own charter. I can't see them trying to strong arm a municipality and residents that would have to vote for them, who have made it very clear they don't like the current model. So I mean, I look at that as an item that won't come up unless there's some very different plans provincially that I'm aware of.
And how long do you imagine this kind of interim model being in place? How long do you think this is something that you would accomplish in your first term?
Well, the interim model can start right away. That can happen on day one. So that's with having each of the 5 community committees selecting somebody from their committee to be on EPC. And I think within 1 year, or at least within 16 months, we can have that changed at the province. And I will advocate to have that changed. And residents of Winnipeg and voters in the province will know that we're advocating to have that changed because it needs to change. I see it happening within 16 months. If it doesn't happen within 16 months for whatever reason, we will still follow the system where community committees will pick somebody to sit on EPC. And we will still honor the fact that they will be allowed or they will be invited, every council, to sit in the budget working group. The budget working group is where a lot of councillors feel left out. Before the budget is done, there are a number of secret meetings with people that are hand-selected and paid more money by the mayor. And Gillingham was one of them, and they would meet often. They would meet before city council meetings. We saw it, we witnessed it. And they would make their decision of what was going to be said and what items would be supported and what weren't put forward by EPC. The saddest moment in my life being in the media was when I had a reporter say to me one time, there's no point in going to a council meeting because it's all decided at an EPC meeting and it never changes. You look at some of the biggest votes, and it doesn't happen all the time. We have to be frank about that, right? It doesn't happen all the time. But I would say over 95% of the time, they vote as packed. And the city government is where you don't want a pact. You don't want parties. Even a pseudo party that's made up of individuals picked by the mayor who have more access to information, are allowed to sit in secret meetings, and who have better access to the public service. I will change that on day one. If we didn't change it, if we didn't eliminate that model, why do we elect that many councillors?
So, assuming you're successful changing the charter, eliminating EPC, after that, essentially all councillors are the same. That's basically the model that you're going for.
All councillors will be exactly the same, yes. And if you want to know going back, maybe what you're asking is what will it look like after EPC's gone. So I'll take you there for a second. So after that, I would do what I believe should have been done a long time ago in politics and have a committee as a whole. So that we have directors come and speak to all of council. So all of council gets to hear what's going on, ask questions, ask for information, be involved in it. Because right now, under the model that has been in place for a while, that everyone says they're going to get rid of, and no other candidate will eliminate, you don't have that opportunity if you're a councillor that doesn't sit on a committee. You can't ask questions. You get 10 minutes to appear before the committee like a resident, but you don't have that opportunity to question. You don't have that opportunity to push back when the public service answers, because during your presentation, the public service doesn't have to answer your question or your thoughts or on your comments. They'll do that hours later. Hours later. And even if a councillor was to sit there for the length of time, they would not be able to interject and say, well, that's not accurate, or I did not get that report. They don't have that opportunity. It's very one-sided, very one-sided. And that is proven to be ineffective for the city of